Let me ask you all a question, right? So now the question I got for y'all is, what is the main question that you run into, or that comes up when it comes to credit repair? What is the number one question? You did put one?
Yes, that's to say, why is it important to fix or have credit?
Okay, good. That's a good question. I just want to make sure I can see these questions. Okay, so hold on. Okay, good. That's good. We got some good questions on the table right now. So I'm going to deal with those too. And then I'll come back for more questions afterwards. So I see how I'm going to have to deal with these questions here, okay? So, why is it important to fix or have credit? That is a excellent question. Because what we have been taught is what? What is the key phrase that we've been taught? The key phrase that we've been taught is that that cash is king, right? That is what we've been taught, correct?
Mhm.
Right. So if that's the case, that we've been taught that cash is king, then what does that mean to us? We're saying I don't need credit because I have cash, right?
Right.
But here's the power that this is what people do not understand. Again, I'm going to come back to something I said before, but now I'm dealing with personal credit. I'm not talking about I'm dealing with personal credit rather. I'm not talking about business credit. What does it give us? It gives us time. Time is so important. The other thing it gives you is credibility, right? Your credit score is the actual, almost the credibility that you have. Trust what? In other words, jobs check your credit. Any big thing that you got to do, anything that's going to make a change in your life, house, car, a job, those type of things, they're all going to check your credit, right? Why? Because there is a profile, and when I say that, I mean a social profile. There's a social profile for people when they have credit, when they have good credit, or for their credit score level. So in other words, a person that has bad credit has certain habits. A person that has middle level credit has certain habits. A person that has excellent credit has certain habits. So they're looking and they're determining who you are by your credit. That's one thing, right? So now the next thing is it gives you time. See, your cash can be used in different mediums, right? At different times. So let's say you got a bill that you pay monthly or this or that. But what if you could sit your money somewhere and invest your money in a certain place, and you can get the return on investment while you're using someone else's money that's going to be higher than the interest that you were going to be charged. And it depends on how quickly you're able to invest and get a return on it, because a lot of times you will pay zero interest. So you're utilizing someone else's finances for whatever it is you need to do while you're using your money to be able to make more money. Your money should always be making more money, right? So if you remember, many of you have seen me do presentations before. But if you've ever seen me do a presentation, a lot of times I'll go into the four quadrants. Quadrant one, employee. Quadrant, and this is Robert Kiyosaki. It's not something I made up or came up with. This is tried, true, and tested. Quadrants. This is information that's tried, true, and tested. So I'm not making this up, right? So you'll hear me talk about the 4 quadrants. So employee to small business owner to business system, right, to investor. The business system and the investor are on the right hand side, right? The employee and the employee and the business owner are on the left hand side, correct? So if that's the case, then you want to be on the right hand side. Okay? So you can take time, you can use your money in other places while your credit is doing what it's supposed to do. This is when you're responsibly using credit. This is when you're responsibly using. This is what I mean. But what do? We get happy. We got a few $1,000s in our pocket, 10,000, 50,000, or 5,000, or whatever. And now we go out and spend it, right? Because we want to give things for our family. We want to do this. We want to do that. Yes, you do. But you want to do it in a manner where at the end of the day, everyone has won, right? At the end of the day, you are in a situation where you can do that over and over and over again instead of one time, right? This is where you want to be. So, right, we want to be responsible with credit. That's key. That is the key to the game. That right there is the key to the game, is being responsible with credit, right? So, if we are, excuse me, if we become responsible with credit, right, now we can use it to our behalf. So the other thing is, what's another reason is, let me go back, if I can get back to that. I don't know if I can. Facebook is worse. I like the whatchamacallit better. YouTube works good. Facebook is for these questions. But anyway, so the other reason that you want to, why you need credit and what you want it for, is debt to utilization ratio. Right? What do I mean by that? You don't have to use credit. If you don't like credit, if you don't want to use it, like you're scared because you might overuse it, you don't understand the rules, the laws, and how it works, and da 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 da. You need to get cards and just set them to the side and use those cards to pay bills and pay them off. Like, let's say you normally use money to pay your bills. You should take your cards and pay your bills. Right? You should take your card and pay your bills. And then what's going to happen is you're going to have a high debt to credit utilization. Why? Because one day you're going to need to go get a house. One day you're going to need to go get a car. And so one day you don't know what might happen. Something might break down and you might need to use that money, but you'll have that money back next week or the next 2 weeks or something like that. Right? But what's going to happen is that means you're going to be credit worthy. So now if you have a good payment history, right, you have debt to utilization, your debt to utilization ratio is high. When you go into a spot to get credit, you're going to have like a 750 score off the rip. Versus you right now having a 550 or a 542 talking about you don't need or want credit. You're going to have a 550. I mean, you're going to have like a 750 score, 800 when you walk in somewhere. Now, instead of shaking and being scared when they say, well, what's your credit like? Then you're going to be like, yo, my credit is good. So what if let's just look at an example. If you bought a house, right, and your credit score is below 700, probably about 730, you're going to pay for that house multiple times. You're going to pay over and over and over again for that house. You're going to pay for that house probably 4 or 5 times in interest because your credit score is bad. Right? So there's no reason not to have good credit. Having good credit doesn't mean you have to use credit. You just got to make sure that those cards or whatever you're using stays active. So that's why I say buy something small. You can buy a candy bar with it and pay it off. It doesn't matter. As long as it stays active, like you're using it every so often. I say once a month, use your cards. But I'm saying you don't have to, even if you don't want to use credit, you can have good credit and don't even use it. So that's a beautiful thing.